We are Rogue Media Sports.
You haven't heard about the McCrispy yet? Well, then, you probably haven't heard the sweet silence after the first crispy bite either. Go try it for yourself to hear the best nut sound you've ever heard.
Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries, plus napkins, plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.
Ah, yes. For the first time in about a month, Ed Werder and I coming to you on the morning after a glorious win by the Cowboys, a dominating fashion, 38-14. Ed coming to us from the mountains of Colorado. It's snowing there, at least up on the mountaintops. Ed thinking about maybe doing some skiing this week. Ed was the as you watch this thing, or did you? I want to say this: Jerry had a twinkle in his eye last night. He did talk to me about quote dreaming of the playoffs. Did this for just a brief moment in time? Did this resemble a playoff team or a wild card? Let's give up. Okay, I think it's not mathematically eliminated, but virtually they have been eliminated from winning the division. Let's give up on that. Did this look like a wild card playoff team to you?
Well, I thought the Cowboys looked like themselves. You know, this Zekeless team finally gave the Jerry World fan base something to cheer about, though they were late arriving to acknowledge that. And to me, it doesn't really matter that the Redskins were decimated by injuries or undermined by their persistent failure to protect the football. You know, you should win when you create 4 turnovers and score a touchdown on special teams. And that's what the Cowboys did. And really, that's all that matters, because they stay relevant as long shots in the playoff scenario, as you just suggested. And Kirk Cousins, on the other hand, can start thinking about what's next for him, because the Redskins are finished after a dismal performance at Jerry World, in which they were really dominated ultimately on both sides of the ball, although the Cowboys certainly started poorly.
And I do remind me, Ed, I want to tell you about kind of a fun moment down there, and we've got the audio, and we'll let folks hear it. Jerry got spooked after the game. A policeman, I think the policeman was joking, but he let off like a huge siren, a very, very loud, one of those that you've heard before from the speaker system of a motorcycle, and it caused Jerry to use quite a bit of foul language. And if Frito Nation Productions will allow it, I don't want to beep this out. I really think it needs to be the full on, but it's understandable that Jerry would shriek and become concerned when he hears police sirens, given how many Cowboys players have been suspended at the start of recent seasons. So I think his alarm is totally understandable to me. You really, after the Jones family was so happy to see you on Thanksgiving, you just cannot leave it alone.
I got to tell you, I got some great. I actually, in all the years I've covered the Cowboys, apparently I've never had a photograph of Jerry and I together, and that's probably by the fact that he tries to avoid me at all costs when he does see me. But this was my first the Thanksgiving Day game. I was on assignment from Westwood One, and it was my first time at Jerry World since I'd lost my position at ESPN. And of course, everything that's happened, and we've talked all about it all every week during the podcast. So I walk up to Jerry as he approaches me, and I spread my arms out and I laugh and I say, "Hey, Jerry, what the hell have you been up to? I haven't heard or read a thing." And he had a good chuckle about that.
He had a good old belly laugh. I like it. Jerry, boy, he was feeling good last night. I think it's time. Let's get right to it. We got a lot to discuss today. Mark Frito Friedman, play the music, sir. Oh, and it is time. It's been a while since we've done it after a win, and Ed, as we get started on a major Doomsday podcast, I have to say, man, so many great conversations happened last night. I disappeared at halftime to go visit with some folks about Doomsday. Lots of interest, lots of excitement, and I want to say this is with great pleasure and pride. I want to bring on a new sponsor, and it's been one of my sponsors for years in my radio career, and before I even worked with them, I leased vehicles from them for a long time. It is D&M Leasing, and Ed, say welcome to D&M, please. They want to hear your voice, too.
Well, D&M, we certainly welcome you as a partner in the Doomsday podcast, and I think it would be okay if both hosts of this show had free cars instead of just one of us, but that's beside the point. Welcome, D&M. We're proud to have you.
I know nothing about this free car thing you speak of, but I do love, I have always had, both of our family cars are with D&M Leasing, and due to the huge popularity of their November sale, D&M Leasing extending the sale through the end of the year, that means that you still have time to get a great deal on a new car for Christmas. With D&M Easy Lease, you can get a Christmas gift and not make a payment until February. You also save up to 50% a month versus buying, and you have no early termination fees. The sale's the biggest savings offer in all of D&M's 35 years of business, with great deals on 2017 closeouts and lower interest rates. You don't want to miss out. Call D&M Leasing today at any local area code and 35 lease. That's 35 LEASE, or visit dmautoleasing.com. And by the way, folks all over Texas and anywhere you're listening, we'll get one to you. If you're out of state and you're thinking, I don't know, I'm not down there, listening in Texas, can they get me a car? We'll find a way to get a vehicle to you. Call D&M Leasing today. Any local area code and 35 lease is 35 LEASE, or visit dmautoleasing.com. The call is free. Not calling will cost you thousands. And that new vehicle. Man, Ed, it's fun to be doing that again. Was with
You know what, Matt? I don't think my bank knows this, but I'm really not planning to make another car payment until at least February myself. But that does sound like an extraordinarily good deal they're offering.
That's nice, Ed. I mean, you're pretty good at this. All right, let's get into it. Let's talk about this Cowboys 38-14 win. I had a good laugh with Jerry last night. Then he turned serious on me. I did say, Ed, as you might expect, I with a straight face, I said to Jerry late last night, I said, Jerry, did Jason do a better job with the second half coaching? And after a moment, Jerry started laughing. We had a good laugh. There's about 3 or 4 of us around, and then I think Jerry went on to say a few things about how there had been some tough times and the coaches really had to put their heads down. And I think he realized that, they were under fire, and that was not lost on Jerry. And not that Jerry was saying, okay, we're going to fire you if you don't win or anything like that. But he understood that this coaching staff was under a lot of scrutiny. And so, Ed, I think we start right there. We'll get to some of the actual game action and some of the plays that occurred in this game. But a coaching staff that really this team had not been competitive. And I think it was, Ed, you're really good at putting all this together. I think I had it down where it was like 72-10 in the second half of those previous 3 games. And that was, that's non-competitive stuff. And that's embarrassing. And I think Jerry and this coaching staff was pretty relieved that they finally got a win.
Well, we know that they lost by 20 points 3 times in a row, and that the offense, without Ezekiel Elliott now serving his suspension, had for the first time in the history of the franchise failed to score 10 or more points in 3 consecutive games. And so here's how that works in the NFL when a team's in a crisis like that. The owner puts pressure on the head coach. The head coach transfers that to his coordinators, who then pass it along to the rest of the staff and the players. And I think Jerry put Jason Garrett and the coaching staff on notice with his remark after the loss to the Chargers being an indefensible defeat and performance, which he could have applied to all three of the losses without Elliott. Then he suggested this week that a turnaround was a matter of coaching, saying what would be evident is what good coaching can bring. And so I think it appeared based on the energy and the intensity that the Cowboys brought to this game that Garrett and Scott Linehan and Rod Marinelli really conveyed that, to the players. They benched some guys on defense, and they gave others their first significant opportunity to create a different outcome, and they certainly did that. And, they got a huge impact from their rookie class. Taco Charlton had a sack and a forced fumble, and Cheeto Awuzie, their second-round pick, finally got healthy and broke up a number of passes and played with real aggression. And then, Ryan Switzer with the big punt return for a touchdown that was crucial because not only did it provide points, but came at a time when Cooper Rush might have had to go into the game and run the offense because Dak had injured his hand when he was hit on a read option type pitch play and was being evaluated in the locker room. So he wouldn't have been out there had they required an offensive series. But, talking to some of the coaches after the game, they said they really felt like those defensive changes and getting some of the young players more involved in the secondary in particular infused the entire team with what they said was a proper intensity needed for them to be successful. It was important for them to play guys that are going to do their job and be physical and properly represent the Cowboys style of football. And I think that's what they got last night. And I think that's really important. And then, they did reclaim their identity on offense because for the first time since Elliott was suspended, they had an effective running game for 4 quarters. And Alfred Morris rushed for 127 yards and a touchdown. They ran the ball 42 times in the game. So they knew from when they played the Redskins in Week 8, and Zeke had a huge game with 150 yards on 33 carries. They knew they could run the football on the Redskins. So the Redskins were the right opponent for the Cowboys to try to reestablish their offensive identity while they're still absent their best player.
Yeah, it was pretty remarkable to see it. Boy, good point bringing up, and I always love it when you check in with some of the coaching staff and bring some of that to the table. Ed, I had to go back last night, even late. You know how diligent I am. I came home, I turned on the TV and started racing back through it. I needed to see a couple of things that, you've sat in many press boxes in your lifetime, and there are things during the game. Sometimes we get replays, but there's some things that you might miss when you're watching it live at a game. Sometimes our listeners think, well, they know everything because they were at the game. Well, no, you sometimes get better angles and everything by watching the game on TV.
I've actually found just the opposite. A lot of my Twitter followers think that despite the fact we're at the games and at the facility and interacting with the players before and after games, that they know more than we do. But go ahead.
That's okay. It's
not okay, but it is. It's reality.
I have to encourage you to not fight with these folks on Twitter. Okay, I have to say this. I went back and looked because I got a former scout, Glenn Stretch Smith, was sitting near me in the press box. Last night, Kevin Sherrington, the Morning News, grabbed my seat. He had the nerve to do such a thing. So I just moved. I said, to hell with you guys. I'm going to a different spot in the press box. So I sat up there with former scout, and I swore to him that Josh Doxson, early in that game, you know what I'm talking about. There's a throw across the middle, and I say to him, no, it's a drop. That's just a flat-out drop. Doxson dropped that ball. And I didn't even the replay I didn't really see it. And then I went back late last night, took a long look at it, and sure enough, Cheeto Awuzie, who played at that school he used to cover up there at Colorado, up in Boulder, where you still reside, at least have one of your homes in that area. And Ed, I'll just say this: that was a gorgeous play by Awuzie, and I thought it kind of set the tone for the evening for him. At one point, leading Chris Collinsworth to say, "This is the star attraction." He called Cheeto Awuzie the star attraction. I mean, how pleasant, how refreshing was that to watch a Cowboys cornerback actually high point balls and go up and break up passes? Ed, Jordan Lewis has had his moments. Awuzie looked like the real deal last night. And I think the next part for him is how long can he stay healthy. But I think they found something with him. And, hey, Kayvon Frazier with some big hits, especially in the run game.
and getting playing time at the expense of a former first-round pick in Byron Jones.
Correct.
The safety who was not often out there in rundown situations. But I think that one of the messages that they wanted to send to Jordan Lewis while he was losing playing time to Chido Awuzie, who was drafted one spot higher, is, hey, you have to be physical all the time, and you have to be fully engaged on competitive on every play. And I don't think that's what they feel they've been getting most recently from Lewis, who seemed to have some real immediate success, and then his game sort of seemed to taper off. So I think this is a really good competitive situation that, while they may have been forced to create it, they at least did create it on the practice field. And, guys are earning playing time. Like, I think it's important that football be a meritocracy. And that's one of the things I've always liked about Jason Garrett, for his many failures and flaws I think he has as a head coach. I do think he believes in that, and I applaud that because I agree that that's an important part of football, that guys have to feel like, no matter their draft status or how they came to an organization or what they're paid, that they can earn playing time, that playing time is earned. And I think this sends that message. And I think it'll be good for Jordan Lewis to watch Awuzie play physically and be aggressive like he was, and to hear him be praised in meetings, in film sessions during the week while Lewis is largely ignored. I think it'll have a positive effect on all involved. And so I think they've created a good situation. And same thing with Byron Jones, as you mentioned. Hey, let's be honest. In the past, they've had safeties who could tackle but couldn't cover. And now this year they started the season with Heath and Jones. And those are two guys who can cover, but they don't tackle. So they needed to make a change. They made a change, and I think it can have a long-lasting positive impact.
Have you noticed? And Heath does make some plays. You're right. And so my thing with Jeff Heath is I do feel like he tries to end people's careers. Like, every hit, it's never enough just to bring a guy down. I feel like
they did it once, right, in Seattle.
Yeah. But I mean, he if you watch him, and at the end of that Crowder, where he just got loose and Cousins made that great throw to him, and he goes for, 48, 50 yards, and he's just kind of video gaming it around the field. Did you see at the end of it? Heath just annihilated him, and that's just kind of who he is. Now, I want to stay with defense for a minute. I thought, DeMarcus Lawrence got back to being DeMarcus Lawrence, 2 sacks. They got that backup right tackle. For a minute they had to take Trent Williams out, and that was a mess.
And Moses went out of the game at right tackle.
Yes, that was a bad situation.
They're on their
them.
Third center. The Cowboys should dominate up front in a situation like that with their frontline players against second and thirds. They should dominate, but they did. So,
that's what I'm saying. You got to do it. Yeah. You got to do it. And Cousins is a guy that has been known to get the ball out fairly quickly. Wasn't doing it in this game. Tried to step up. Made some plays with his feet. And actually played pretty well. But Lawrence put it on him. And how about with about 4.5 minutes left in that game, Ed? You don't normally, and Collinsworth was even blown away by that one. You don't normally see, especially a 6'7" defensive end. You covered Leon Lett, and so and Leon Lett's on this coaching staff now. You know what it is to see a uniquely gifted, tall man along the line play like that. But Irving sort of brings a suddenness that I don't think we're used to at that kind of height. And my goodness, that the hit he put, that was the 4th and final sack of the evening. The hit he put on Cousins, that'll stay with him, and that was quite a moment there. Lawrence was briefly shaken up on that play, but I think he's going to be okay.
Well, and one of the things that evolved during the losing streak was, especially as they collapsed in the second half of those 3 consecutive defeats, was that they, on defense, weren't really any more effective than the offense. It was just disguised by how utterly non-competitive the offense was, that the defense didn't get any sacks, didn't create any turnovers, in 2 of those 3 losses. And so to come back last night and have a game where they got 4 sacks and where the defense did contribute a couple of interceptions and create a short field scoring opportunity. And then again, the special team scored a touchdown and also They created a turnover as well. So it was really a three-phase. It was really those two phases were more dominant and productive really than the Cowboys offense, which obviously still remains a work in progress beyond the offensive line getting Alfred Morris, into a phase where he was able to consistently create some yards, and they were able to look like themselves in that part of the game. The passing game, I think, still is less than artful, shall we say?
I think that is true. 11 for 22 would suggest that. But to your point, when you that's a winning formula, though, when there's somewhere in that range of pass attempts for the Cowboys, and when the breakdown is somewhere like 40-something rushes. Obviously, they got about 187 rushing yards and only 22 passes. It's okay. I mean, you would say, well, that's not perfect balance. No, it's okay. That's what the Cowboys. That's a winning formula. Keep the clock moving, and it worked extremely well. Now, Ed, I want to get us over to the offensive side of the ball, but first, I need to tell you, and Frito too. I've got a Christmas gift for you guys. It's arrived. I can't tell you how much I spent on it. I don't want to do that. I don't want to make a big deal out of how much I spent on it. I'll just say it was.
Yeah, I wonder why that would be.
Yeah, it was very little because this Christmas is coming. Gift is coming from Harry's Razors, and very excited about Harry's. Now, I've been with Harry's for a long time. Love the feel of it. Love the German-style blades, and love the fact that, for me at least, someone with extremely sensitive skin who has had to use a styptic pencil in the past. You
really are sensitive. I'll say that.
I'm a sensitive man, and the styptic pencil is what you use when you get these little nicks and cuts, and you take this little white thing and you have to draw on yourself a little bit to do that. That's not fun, and I don't have to do that when I use Harry's. I've tried every razor in the world, and hey, listen, Harry has the limited. This is what I'm giving you and Frito. The limited edition gift sets, offering custom and limited edition shaving sets that make perfect gifts. Sets come with German-engineered 5-blade cartridges, foaming shave gel. And this is, by the way, Ed, you can go into one of those stores in Denver or wherever you are right now, and you can find all these men's deal. What it does is some of that foam gel doesn't do what you need it to do. And this stuff works beautifully. Special limited edition winter chrome and emerald green handles, and personalize it with engraving. Ed, can you imagine? I mean, you might scare some people if you send them something with engraving. But I love this thought. And a special offer, we've partnered with Harry's to give you $5 off your order when you go to harrys.com/doomsday. DOOMSDAY. This holiday, give Harry's and give Handsome. Get your holiday shopping done early and take advantage of free shipping. I wrote that. To get a limited edition holiday shave set while supplies last, go to harrys.com/doomsday. Do it right now. That's harrys.com/doomsday. All right, Ed. And by the way, your mustache looked good on radio the other night.
Well, I'm glad to know I have a gift coming from you, so I'm going to forgive you for ruining the surprise for Frito and I.
That's okay. I'm going to wrap this thing up. It's going to be beautiful. Boy, I suggest this personal engraving. Now, that is something that kind of gets me excited thinking about it. Something else that gets me excited, Ed. Cowboys run game. It returned in all its glory. It was back. And I think two things happened. You got Alfred Morris looking across at the team that gave up on him. Alfred, we loved you. You did great for us. You were an unbelievable, what was he, sixth-round pick.
Sixth-round pick who rushed for, 1,600 yards as a rookie?
Yeah, he was unbelievable. He and RG3 doing it together. They came into the league. Both of them had fallen on hard times. RG3 fell on harder times than Alfred, but out of the league now. But Morris gets to go see his old team last night, and Ed, First of all, dominant performance by that offensive line. The for the first time really in a long time, a much maligned offensive line recently for some of the things that had happened out there. I thought all across that line, the interior guys, Lyle Collins, your guy over at right tackle, thought he was dominant in the run game, did a really nice job. And both Tyron Smith and, they move Kerrigan around every once in a while. Did you see that? Number 91 for the Redskins. I mean, he really was neutralized. I mean, he did not do a lot in this game. And then Alfred Morris, I'll stick with, me, I like to bounce around. I'll stick with Alfred because I know you've got things to say on him. How about the fact that he was finding the holes, finding the seams in that zone blocking scheme, and then yards after contact. Love some good yak. And I thought Alfred did a beautiful job, 127 yards and a touchdown last night.
Well, obviously, the Cowboys to me are a unique team in terms of, how they're built. In the NFL today, most teams are built around their quarterback, and the Cowboys aren't. They're really built around Ezekiel Elliott and his ability, as we've said, to, let them control the game, be an intimidating offensive, physical group, control time of possession, don't turn the ball over, protect the defense and make the opponent be one-dimensional because they're generally behind when things are working well. And I think that's the scenario the Cowboys created last night for the first time without Zeke being the lead back. They did it with Alfred Morris, but there was a real commitment to running the football and controlling the game. I mean, they had 42 rushes and 182 yards and 2 touchdowns running the football. And that's what they need to do, especially when, the quarterback, second year, guy who's still evolving, seems to be in something of a, performance crisis throwing the football right now. So it was important that they were able to be effective and control the game with Alfred Morris and that offensive line to the extent that they did. And that's something we really haven't seen them do since Elliott went out. They were just getting to that point and had run off a few games where they appeared back to being themselves from the 13-3 season, and then they lost Elliott and lost their identity. And I thought last night they finally recreated that for the first time.
Can you find an identity? I want to drill down on something you just said. Boy, you've been in crisis mode in this podcast. I like it when you sort of get in that situation room there in Colorado and you start talking about crisis. And Ed, the quarterback. This is interesting to me. I don't know if Jerry is just doing this because for years he talked up Romo even after bad games and always is there, and you always want to prop up your quarterback. Head coaches want to do that too. But, boy, Jerry was going on and on about Dak. And I do think there are some intangibles that he brings and a leadership qualities. You and I have talked about that a lot. But to your point, boy, early in that game and he kind of finally settled into a rhythm, found Dez. That was a beautiful touchdown throw to Dez, by the way. But, boy, there is, from a passing standpoint, isn't it amazing that we're sitting here talking about this incredible game plan? This quarterback played, damn near earned the MVP last year. And
he was Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. Yeah. But what I'm saying is this. He couldn't get his feet set. He's kind of moving around. He's tentative. And he went 11 for 22 for 102 yards. He didn't really set the world on fire last night. Meanwhile, Cousins, who might not even get, maybe a free agent next year, throws for, well over 250 yards, makes some incredible throws. It is interesting what you said. They found an identity again with the quarterback barely getting 50% of his throws. I mean, let's not act like he had a real accurate night throwing the football.
And to his credit, he played through, that hand injury, which I don't know that it really affected his functionality. It was, swollen. And to his credit, he played through it and he did his part. The big thing was, to me, he got back to being a risk-averse quarterback. After the 8 turnovers in the previous 3 games, 5 interceptions, no touchdowns. He reversed those numbers, 2 touchdown passes, no turnovers at the quarterback position. So that's the point of emphasis, I think, with him. But thank God he got those texts from Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach, reassuring him and motivating him, because how bad would his stat line have been without that?
Boy,
11 of 22 for 102 yards.
Oh, the Werder sarcasm. Dripping with sarcasm.
Seventh fewest passing yards the Cowboys have ever had in a win, and the fewest since Troy Aikman had 78 in the 1992 season finale against the Bears, obviously in a Super Bowl season, so he only played into the third quarter in that game. He did look reluctant to throw the football. He did appear to be indecisive. I think if you're going to take away anything from his performance that's positive going into the Giants game, which the Giants have obviously thwarted him like no other opponent, it's that he did avoid the turnovers, as I said, and he did finally, and this has been a work in progress, the coaches will tell you, he did finally get Dez Bryant involved. And we talked about how flat this group has been on offense without Elliott and the charisma he brings, and that it was important to get Dez Bryant in the game and have his personality come to the field. And I thought in the second half of the game that they really did that. Dak was 5 of 7 throwing to Dez, 6 of 15 throwing to everybody else. And getting the ball to Dez is something he has not done well, completing just, over 50% of his throws to Dez during the year. But he did finally get a little air under the football on some back shoulder throws, give him a chance to go up and beat Rashad Breeland and outcompete him for the football in the end zone, draw a flag on a personal an interference call in the red zone. That's where I think defensive coordinators, when you talk to them, they don't really fear Dez. Even though we did see one run after the catch play in the game last night. Where they think he's still a threat, though, is in the red zone in those jump ball type situations. And we saw that last night, 2 positive plays in that specific role. So that's something I think that maybe Dak takes away from that game that makes him feel good going forward. So overall, it hasn't been a good month for Dak. Dak Prescott throwing the football.
But you like the throw into the end zone when Dez is 1-on-1 more than the throw to Noah Brown where you lose 2 yards.
So we're going to criticize Scott Linehan for not being creative enough. But then when he does something creative and it doesn't work, we're going to criticize him for not doing the obvious thing. Okay.
Yes. I feel just fine about doing that. And I also, Ed, feel
that sarcasm was not directed at you so much as other people in our business.
No, that's fine. And if you need to name anybody, I'm always good with that.
Well, I just wanted to reassure you because, as you said during the Harry's spot, you are a sensitive man.
I have sensitive skin, and I'm a sensitive man. Both those things. Now, Ed, before I really need you to weigh in, and I have my thought on this. Are the Cowboys back in a playoff race? That there's a discussion that needs to be had. I do want to say this though. Welcome to my old friends, my longtime radio friends. When people think of Matt Mosley, and I hope they do it often and think fondly, I think they think of D&M Leasing. Been with them for a lot of years, and due to the huge popularity, Ed, of the November sale, D&M Leasing is extending the sale through the end of the year. That means you'll have some time to get a great deal on a new car for Christmas. With D&M's Easy Lease, you get a great Christmas gift, not make a payment until February. You'll also save up to 50% a month versus buying, and you have no early termination fees. Call my man Jeff Corin over there. Ask for Jeff. Love Jeff. He's been a great friend for years, and he'll take care of you. The sale is the biggest savings offer in all of D&M's 35 years of business. Great deals, 2017 closeouts, and lower interest rates. You don't want to miss out. Call D&M Leasing today at any local area code and 35 Lease. That's 35 LEASE, or visit dmautoleasing.com. I'll say it one more time, Ed, if you didn't get that. It's any local area code. And by the way, if you're listening to us outside of Dallas, that's 214-972-817-90-something. What is that one, Ed? Isn't there something up in like Denton Way? Frito, can you help out?
940?
940, and then 35 lease. That's 35. Sorry, I hollered at Frito. 35 LEASE, and the call's free. Not calling will cost you thousands. And that new vehicle. I wish you could see Frito's face right now, Ed. I
I can imagine.
Jumped on him a little bit.
Sorry, Matt. I was busy sending you your invoice.
Yeah, that's one thing I can always count on is Frito will get that invoice.
I like a guy who'll bill you before the show is even over.
That's right. Oh man, I'm moving money as we speak to take care of you guys.
That is nothing but pure trust right there.
It is. That exactly. That's a good point by you, Ed. Let's look at this thing. This Cowboys sit at 6-6. I saw the playoff scenarios. Now, one reason NBC does this is to try to even create more interest for its viewers and sort of pretend that certain teams are in the playoff hunt. Right now, Seattle, a team on the Cowboys schedule, and a team that's getting ready to play the Eagles. Now, Ed, this will be hard for Cowboys fans. This was mentioned on the telecast last night, broadcast, whatever you call it. The Cowboys need to root for the Eagles coming up next week. There's a big. Or is this coming Sunday night? Is that right?
It's this week. Yeah,
yeah, this coming Sunday night. They need to root for the Eagles to beat Seattle. Explain all these scenarios, Ed. You're always great at doing this.
The Cowboys basically have to hope that the Eagles go ahead and win the division. They have to concede the division to the Eagles. It's an inevitability. So for the Cowboys, it's more important that Seattle lose than it is that their hated rivals in the division at the top of the division lose. They need Seattle to lose because that's probably the team, one of the many teams that they're going to have to try to beat out for wild card playoff berth as they get to the end of the season. And they not only they have some opportunity to control their own fate in the regard that they do play the Seahawks when Christmas Eve, right? That's the first game that Ezekiel Elliott will be eligible for. So that will be a key game for them. They've obviously already lost to some teams in the NFC that could hurt them if they wind up in a tiebreaker scenario. So you got to beat Seattle. You want Seattle to lose as many times as possible. They lost obviously to the Rams, who right now are a game ahead of Seattle in the NFC West. So they don't want to wind up tied with the Rams, and they already lost to the Packers. So that would be another team that they don't want to wind up tied with. So yeah, they've got a lot of different interests that they're rooting for in these final few Sundays. But what they really need to do is be able to replicate the performance and really on offense in the passing game, improve on the performance that they delivered last night. But they need to play with that level of enthusiasm and intensity for 4 quarters for the remainder of the season. And they're going to be fortunate, it appears, because in all likelihood, we see the Giants have just, ingloriously benched Eli Manning. So they're conceding that they're not trying to win anymore. In all likelihood, the Cowboys will be playing against a rookie quarterback in that game after Geno Smith starts this week. And then we said they're going to catch Seattle. Seattle's without Richard Sherman and Cam Chancellor, the ranking members of the Legion of Boom. And then at the end of the season, the Eagles might have nothing to play for, and so the Cowboys might get a break there. They're still in it, mathematically alive, and I think even realistically, there's a chance for them to pull this off. But they almost have to win the rest of their games.
Okay, I like it. This is the rare optimistic Ed. Very cynical man, dripping with sarcasm earlier. Even when we're talking about the great Roger Staubach. I have a hard time buying that Roger sends text messages. Not because he's old, just because he's too cool for that. Like I think like for years Galloway screamed at us for texting, and then he finally started doing it. And I think he lost some cool points because I thought that was kind of cool that he took a stand. I will not text, and I choose to believe that Roger Staubach does not send text messages. But anyway, he found a way to get a nice message over to. And you know what I think though about that, Ed? On that note, I think Roger and Troy, see some of themselves in Dak. I just think they genuinely, and they like Troy, and they liked Tony too, but I think with Dak, they see a guy who now, Staubach, especially early in his career, had this sort of daring do. He had the devil may care attitude and would run around a little bit more. Troy just got you home and got the victory and made the plays he needed to make. But I do think there's a genuine affection they have for Dak, and I choose not to be sarcastic in praising them for sending those messages.
I wasn't sarcastic about that. I was sarcastic about the effect that it had on a guy who threw for 101 yards, which is not very many yards when you're going to win in the modern NFL. But I thought there was really a great line. We should probably share the contents of the text that now you don't believe that Staubach actually did send. But this is what he said on
his alleged. This is his
The Fan, a local radio show. He said, "I did give him some advice. I sent him a little text, and here's a line I love. Basically, adversity reveals genius and prosperity conceals it. You find out the best in people when times are tough, and I really believe he'll be able to not lose his confidence, but he's got to continue to transfer his confidence to his teammates to overcome the adversity that they're in right now." And Dak was, and probably to an extent, if you look at the numbers and performance, still is in the midst of the biggest football crisis of his career. And I don't know that what he did last night, when people look at that and remove the result and the defense and everything else and their performance, remove other performances from it and just evaluate what Dak did in and of himself in the passing game, that really the scrutiny is going to go away and people are going to be convinced that he can be a successful passer at this level. But certainly winning the game and being a part of it in the way that he was and being unflappable and delivering a couple of touchdown passes and no turnovers has to be reassuring for him personally. And I think it's a unique quarterback club that they have, with the Cowboys, the guys who have performed at the highest levels, especially the guys who have won Super Bowls like Staubach and Aikman. It's got to be really meaningful for Dak to know that those guys have been through it and, trying to offer him some level of reassurance. He didn't mention that whether Romo sent the text or not. So Tony's very busy, we know, these days.
Tony, oh gosh, I knew you weren't going to get through this without some little poke at him. I'm going to get a text message from Tony now. Okay. I do want everybody to hear this. One of the things Doomsday tries to do for you is sort of pull back the curtain. And last night, I was able to kind of get Jerry off to the side. I had maybe a couple people that kept trying to interrupt us, but we were. It was mainly just sort of a private little thing I had going with Jerry, and hilarity ensued. Now there's some interesting things here. There's some fun. And there's also something, Ed, you'll love this, something that really, really scared Jerry, and you'll get to hear his reaction. Here is Jerry Jones, moments after last night's 38-14 win over the Washington Redskins.
Those young players in the secondary, look out there. You've got your one-time Charlton was out there, and we had our top 4 or 5 picks were sitting on the field. Mm-hmm. And but they played well. Right. And then Brown came in, gets his interception. Well, he's like a rookie almost. My point is that what's good about that game is there was a whole lot of our future out there. Mm-hmm. And aside from, let's say, Whitten, mm-hmm. It was a young group. And the other thing it showed that we were able to lean on them and get that running game going and saw what it could open up. Right. But you might have heard me. I don't know if you were in there, but I was just saying that to have Dak take those 4 possessions, get those turnovers, all of the thing that does to your momentum or do to your enthusiasm, and then to step out there, kind of have busted knuckle up there, and then turn around there and lead that team. And he just goes up in my eyes almost every outing. Right. And there's a time right there, 4th possession, that was old Dark Days staring you in the eye. Mm-hmm. As the quarterback there, things not working good for you. Right. I don't know if he'd had a completion, but we hadn't had a first down almost through those 4 possessions. But anyway, you guys got all that. But Dak, the offensive line, the way they really physically played, and then the secondary made up of those young guys. Now, if you're in my shoes, that's got to make you smile about the future. And I'll tell you, we shouldn't dismiss if we can get in here and win this next ball game, play at a high level. Then our season's not over.
Right. Is that the biggest difference? That this was kind of a crossroads. If you got this one, you could get the juice from knowing you got a chance to beat the Giants. Zeke only got a game left.
Exactly. We know we got Sean Lee that got a good chance to get back on the field. And so we've got a lot of things to look forward to if you see something good that you want to do again. We just hadn't been seeing anything we wanted to do again for the last 3 games. But we saw some stuff that we'd like to repeat out there. I'd like to see us repeat that offensive line physicalness. I'd like to see that defensive line be able to tee off. Now, in fairness, they're dealing with a lot of injury. But they've played some teams real good the last few weeks. So I think it was a good win for us.
With Dak, is he the kind of guy you don't measure by numbers? Is that the type of game tonight? It's just 102 yards passing, that you don't look at the stats for him. It's more about what he brings, the intangibles to your team and things?
When he was sitting in there with that eyes, what the shit?
Coming for you, Jerry.
What in the world is that? Hey, that man doesn't know the fugitive's in the house. Make this cat go up that wall right there. When you have a checkered pass, that shit bothers you, But anyway, we were keenly aware of that knot on his hand, and hoping not to get that fracture result, which it wasn't. But keenly aware of that knot. Then he goes out there and with that knot and does some of the best stuff he does all night. And boy, it's just time and time again you see him hit adversity like that and play through it. And what is something is that everybody in that huddle, everybody around him is feeding off that. They just makes them better. And it's not, that rah-rah stuff, or it's not come in there and something funny or something. It is, boy, he's doing it physically. He's just doing it, the thing to get respect. But yes, and it's not his intangibles. I mean, he's doing tangible things out there to get her done. But that pass he threw to Daz was about as pretty as anything we saw out there tonight.
Did you feel like Jason worked on some of his second half coaching a little bit?
Well, I don't want to get into that. I really don't.
Trying to get you. So we don't have to give any, a vote of confidence for Jason now?
Are you going to vote for him? Coach of the year? Coach of the year?
No, Coach of the year.
Afraid not this year, huh?
All right, there he was, and some good stuff from Jerry there last night. And Ed, as we say goodbye for another week, I know you have a few more things you would want to share, but I'll just say this: I think I think the Cowboys are in a position. Obviously, you made a good point earlier. Giants are dead in the water. In fact, something you didn't hear there from Jerry. Jerry had some very nice things to say about the Manning family and the fact that. You remember, Ed, you were covering that game, the first game ever. We were all covering that game. First game ever at Cowboy Stadium, which was what it was called, I believe, still at the time, is Eli and the Giants came in, won the game, and Eli signed the wall in the visiting locker room after the game. That's not really like Eli to do that, but he did it. Somebody handed him a Sharpie. He did it, and Jerry says... I think Jerry appreciates gamesmanship and just kind of fun stuff like that. And
he appreciates his ballsiness is what he appreciates.
Yes. And so Jerry has ordered people never to wipe that, never to paint over that. And it's still there to this day. So I think that was Jerry last night. His way of honoring Eli. Loves the whole Manning family. Ed, I'll say this. I think the Cowboys have a great shot to get to 8-6. And you know what happens if you're at 8-6. Zeke comes rolling back in, and then you can fire at 10-6 because you got 2 games. And as you mentioned, Eagles sitting there. Maybe we'll have everything all wrapped up, have a home field advantage all the way through the playoffs, nothing to play for, and will play its reserves, and the Cowboys backdoor their way into the wild card. Ed, are you buying that?
I still think it's kind of a long shot that they'll make it just because they have so many, NFC losses. But there is reason for optimism. They've got a mini bye now to get ready for a bad Giants team, although one that defensively has really thwarted them if the Giants are going to play hard in the game. We don't know what their motivation level is. They also, Jerry has said that he expects Sean Lee will be back to play against the Giants. And I think the injury that you have to watch is Orlando Scandrick apparently, suffered 2 transverse process fractures in his back, which accounts for some of the problems that he had late in the game, to his credit, playing through what's known to be an incredibly painful injury. Even if he was not terribly productive doing that. So maybe what we talked about spent a lot of time talking about in this show, all the young players in the secondary that they're now depending upon, maybe that becomes an even more important element going forward, depending on Scandrick's status in the near future.
I totally agree, and boy, a lot of good things. We will see. Boy, just classic Ed today. Thought you had some great moments, Ed, and we will. We want to once again thank you, D&M Leasing. So proud to have you, and Harry's Razors. What a holiday! Are you pretty excited about that, Ed? When I wrap that up and present you with your Harry's, and I'm going to get something engraved on there. Or will that weird you out if I put a little message?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what the message is, right?
Yeah.
It depends on the message. Like, what would you say when you engrave? Are you just going to put my name on it?
No, I was going to say something like, "Think of me while you're shaving."
Yeah, that would be weird. I would rather just have the box. Just
love Mosley.
It doesn't need to be personalized if that's what you're going to put on there.
Ed, is there anything you want to say goodbye with? You always have sort of a nice closing remark. Anything you'd like to get out there?
I really don't have a lot to say. I think we've pretty much covered it all, and I've used all my sarcasm. As you put it, no. I just like to second something that Frito said to you. Don't forget to PayPal me.
My PayPal is malfunctioning, and I'm starting. I can't hear you that well right now. You're kind of getting fuzzy on the other end. Ed, all my best to you.
I think you'll hear loud and clear from my legal team.
Ed, don't threaten me on our own podcast.
No
all right,
so maybe we'll have another show next week. Maybe we won't. I don't know. We'll see.
I have no clue why you're saying that. We will be back for sure. Now, I am interested.
Maybe I'll have a new car.
I can't wait till our Christmas morning show. That's the one.
Shaving.
That's the one I'm excited about. All right, Ed, I got to say goodbye to you. That is another episode of the Doomsday Podcast, live from Frito Nation Productions. Keep subscribing. Go to Apple Podcasts. Go to Stitcher. Go to Google Play, iHeartRadio. So many different ways you can join us. We love you. Good night, everybody.
Lights are shining, stockings have been hung. You're praying for your daughter, lighting candles for your son. They're living in the city now, you don't see them anymore. This year will not be like the ones before. And the streets are all but empty, the bars have all shut down, and it's hard to find a friend inside this godforsaken town. That emptiness it feels from your head down to your toes.
You haven't heard about the McCrispy yet? Well, then, you probably haven't heard the sweet silence after the first crispy bite either. Go try it for yourself to hear the best nut sound you've ever heard.
Walmart Plus members save on meeting up with friends. Save on having them over for dinner with free delivery with no hidden fees or markups. That's groceries plus napkins plus that vegetable chopper to make things a bit easier. Plus, members save on gas to go meet them in their neck of the woods. Plus, when you're ready for the ultimate sign of friendship, start a show together with your included Paramount Plus subscription. Walmart Plus members save on this plus so much more. Start a 30-day free trial at walmartplus.com. Paramount Plus Essential Plan only. Separate registration required. See Walmart Plus terms and conditions.